Let's look at what we can do with the logical functions in Google Sheets. So if we have some logical values here, false, 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 true, we can kind of look at the and or and see what kind of outputs they're going to give us. So or is a function that we can use to take in several different parameters that might be true or false and output some result. So if we use or, we'll see what happens. If we use or for 3 false values, we're going to get a false value. But if or takes any inputs as a true, it's going, or any parameters are true, then or is going to give us a true result. So you can think of this, I am going to go this way or that way. Well, if you go, let's say I'm going to go left or right. If I go left, then this statement is true. If I go right, this statement is true. Now, if for some reason I didn't do either one, this statement wouldn't be true. And that's kind of how the or works. If we have any of these things end up being true, then or, this or that is going to be true. We also have and is going to work kind of the opposite. So and will take several parameters, and you'll see that if any of them are true, or if any of them are false, we get a false result. If all of them are true, we get a true result. And if you think about this, like if I were to say, today I went shopping and parked my car. Well, if I didn't go shopping, this statement would be false. And if I didn't park my car, this statement would be false. But because both of those things are true, then if I say I went shopping and I parked my car, if both of those are true, then this statement is true. But otherwise, this statement is going to be false. So this kind of allows us to bring multiple criteria together, evaluate multiple things, and then if we use like a sum if or a count if, or we use a just a basic if function, then this allows us to kind of group multiple criteria, multiple evaluations. We also have a not. If we type in logical values, let's say we have a true and a false. Well, this one's pretty intuitive. If we have a not true, that's going to give us false. If we have a not false, that's going to give us true. So that one's pretty straightforward. We can use these or and not functions to kind of manipulate the logic that we use so that we can get the results that we need. Now, I'm going to create a new sheet here. Let's go ahead and say product name, and we'll say pillow, sheet, blanket. And we'll give these a color code. So say 1, 2, and 3. And then let's go ahead and copy these. And we'll say, let's go ahead and we'll use 1, 1, and 1, 2, 2, and 2, and then 3, 3, and 3. And we'll copy these again. So let's say we can use an if statement or an if function to identify what these colors actually mean. We can use if color code equals 1. We'll say this is a blue product. And if it's not, then we'll say this is not a blue product. So you can see we can create this, and this is going to identify everything that's blue. So color code here is 1. And we can even chain our if statements together. So we can say if color code is 1, then if product name is pillow, then you can see we could say this is a blue pillow. And then we close that function, so we're only looking at this function if we are looking at color code 1. And then we can say at the end, this is not a blue product. And you can see this is going to tell us when we have a blue pillow, but it's not going to tell us, it's not going to tell us otherwise. So we have this output, it's going to look at this one. It's not a blue product. This one is, looking at B2, and we don't have a blue pillow here as well. So the reason why we get false here is because we didn't enter anything here. We can say, here we could enter a value for the else. So what we get here is if A3 is pillow, this is a blue pillow. Otherwise, if it's not, we'll say this is blue, but not a pillow. Now let's go ahead and copy that to the rest of these, and we'll put it in the top one as well. So now you can see how this logic breaks down. We have, this is a blue pillow, so it's B2 is 1, and A2 is pillow, so we get this result. For the next one, this is blue but not a pillow. It is 1, but we're getting the else result here. So A3 is not a pillow, so we're using that second value in that function. And then down for the rest of these, none of those are true. We're not matching this. So even though this product is a pillow, we're not actually even getting to that point. We're not getting inside here because pillow is only going to be evaluated. This function, this inner if function, is only going to be evaluated if we have a blue product. So the if function can allow us to kind of make some decisions and figure things out based on some logical inputs. We could also use the switch function here to kind of give us a breakdown of what our colors are. So let's say we wanted to have a column called color name, and we know all of our color codes. We can use that switch function to take the color code as an input, and maybe 1 is blue, and maybe 2 is red, and maybe 3 is green. So this switch function is going to give us these values based on those different colors. So that switch function could be, it can be pretty useful, so that we can see how each one of these is mapped. So we take this input and we kind of group these mappings. If the input is equal to this thing, we're going to use that value. If the input is equal to this thing, we're going to use that value, and so on and so on. Now, if we were to come across a 4, it would say, well, not anything. We don't even know. So we could actually just use if error to make sure that we get a blank there, instead of something that needs this weird error thing. So maybe we could even use if error, so we could use no color found as our next parameter. And this allows us to kind of enter some text for like a default for this switch function. So that gives us an ability to kind of create this mapping, kind of break things down a little bit. We also have an if-s function. So if-s is going to allow us to evaluate multiple conditions. So if we want to look at the color, if s is blue, then we can say this is a blue product. And let's say if that one's not true, we can go to the next thing. Let's go ahead and look at that, and we'll say if that's a pillow, then we'll say this is a pillow. And we could also look at, we could look at something else here. But what we're going to see here if we use this is a little bit different from the if statement, the if function, because if the if function is going to evaluate something, then do this if it's true or do this if it's false. The if-s works a little bit differently. It's going to try to match this, and if it matches that, it's going to output that thing. And if it doesn't and it matches this thing, it's going to output that thing. So if we copy this, we'll see exactly how those results work. This is a blue product. This is a blue product. Even though this is a pillow, it's not even getting to that point. It's just returning the first thing that is true. So this first input and then the second input, if this is true, it's going to give us this second input. And you can see we still get these errors, so we could also use that if error here, if error, to just hide that or to give some output. We could say, using if error, this is not a blue product or a pillow. So you can see here, this is a pillow because it matches that. And if we wanted to maybe add one more thing, we could add in if A2 is equal to blanket, this is a blanket. We forgot our if error, so let's go ahead and put that back. So if error. And now if we paste this to all of these, we can see this is a blanket, only where it's not blue and it is actually a blanket. Here, this one's not blue and it is a blanket. But for that blue blanket, we're just seeing it's a blue product because it only matches one of these and it matches the first one that's available. So that should give you a good understanding of some of the logical functions that are out there. In our next set of modules, we're going to get into the actual app scripting environment. So we'll be able to actually kind of do these things a little bit more easily in an environment like that. But thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something about what you can do with these different logical functions in Google Sheets.